afternoon. We are Nexus Consulting Company. The recently business trend of globalization and increasing ethics and gender diversity, turning managers' attention to management of cultural difference. Valuing diversity holds potential competitive advantage for organizations. However, managing international employees bring additional challenges and issues.
好容易嘅就好簡單啦，就咁拍得。
大家飲杯，飲杯，飲杯，得啦！大家食啊！好嘢啊！好食啊！湯飲埋。
The English believe it's a slur on your host's food if you don't clear your plate. Whereas the Chinese feel you're questioning their generosity if you do.
買少啲啊！
好，馬上嚟。
At Nexus, we never underestimate the importance of cultural differences. That's why we've made this film, which focuses on challenges and issues in multicultural workplaces, and how human resource managers are overcoming the obstacles of cultural integration.
Okay.
This film is designed to help your company succeed in the global arena. It looks at two important areas, particularly focus on interview with three different people, how employers attract and manage their employees' talent in the multicultural environment, and what employees expect and experience when working for an international organization. We divided this into 5 specific sub-questions to reflect different angles of our topic. Let's take a look at the first question.
Research shows that it is particularly important to select the right person for a job in a different country or culture. So we asked our interviewees what additional factors they needed to consider when recruiting globally.
The big challenges really for this area is that the Home Office, I don't know if you're familiar with some of the legislation, they put a lot of barriers in to, or certain lots of criteria that we have to meet. When we build a campaign, it won't be built with that global aspect necessary, because if not, that would imply we don't intend to recruit from the local market. So we've got to be very careful.
So you're really trying to fit that person into the particular role, and you would need to look at the cultural fit. So you'd need to look, is this person going to be fit for Japan? Are they going to be culturally sensitive enough for an ASEAN country? And so that would be some of the things you would consider.
When I applied a job for a Japanese company, I was supposed to master verbal communication skills in Japanese, and the Japanese honorific is always the difficult point. So the working language is the challenge at the very beginning.
We wanted to know what sort of packages companies offered to employees from other countries as incentives for them to work abroad.
The standard package generally depends if the person is moving as an expatriate or a local hire. If they're moving as an expatriate, the standard allowances are all pretty much defined, and most companies now have standardised these. There's a thing called the COLA, the cost of living adjustment. They would also come up with accommodation for an expatriate, furniture allowances, and they will give them a one-off transfer allowance, a settling in allowance, maybe some temporary accommodation, given some form of cultural or language training if that's necessary.
And it varies. There's not a set package, because I know one of your questions was, is there like a set relocation? There's set relocation, isn't there, for everyone? And I think is it £8,000?
It's 10%
of the salary,
or a maximum of 8,000. I think.
But realistically, those negotiations happen. They happen in a closed door between usually the director and maybe the dean of the business school. And there will be lots of different things that are considered for an overseas person, and it depends what they're bringing with them. So, and what I mean is not necessarily their family, about their research income. Sometimes they've got laboratory requirements, say not in the business school but in other areas. So the packages are negotiated and they're bespoke to the individual themselves.
The most attractive factor for me is stability.
We wanted to know how companies help the families of employees to settle in new countries, so we asked what assistance they offered.
A look-see visit where you can go for a week before and you can look at schools and things like that.
Like many other typical Japanese companies, we offer them decent accommodation, overseas education allowance for their wives and kids, social insurance funding, and so on.
It is well documented that there can be conflicts in the workplace where there is ethnic and cultural diversity, and we were keen to know what our interviewees' experience was of this.
Yeah, the most common conflict is cultural misunderstanding or insensitivity. Generally, they're best handled with a discussion with someone who's at a senior level. There is, again, the global HR consulting firms who can help you. And the one thing which most people will do when they get sent to a foreign place is join American Chamber of Commerce, European Chamber of Commerce, AustCham, the Australian Chamber of Commerce, the British Chamber of Commerce, and it gives you a social group, but it also gives you people at a senior level you can talk to.
Misunderstand, for instance, the branch office was proposed to move to a remote place in order to cut down the cost of paying rent. As a result, half of the employees wanted to quit. Because Chinese employees cannot put up with a long commute from home to office, we are here talking about 4 or 5 hours round trip a day, while Japanese employees think it is very normal.
If I'm going to be looking in for a Chinese HR person or a Chinese anyone, and I'm recruiting in England, and who would I probably like to select? It would be an English Chinese, because they speak the language, they've got roots there, they've got a base, they don't go through this cultural sensitivity. When they arrive in Shanghai, they're Chinese, but they have expatriate packages or terms or conditions.
Oh, yes.
The jealousy that happens between them and the local staff, which would never happen with me being there.
We were interested to know whether our interviewees had observed that people from different countries or cultures were motivated by different factors.
That in the broad generalisation of what we all think, and yes, Americans are very motivated by the dollar, but not so much the money, but more bonuses and opportunities to take part in profit. Europeans, again, a ridiculous generalisation, but they are more focused on making sure they get their 8 weeks holiday. Stability, working hours, benefits, those kind of things. Japanese, clearly concerned about status, titles, things like that. Koreans is totally about titles. They want to know what title. Will they be a manager? Will they be a senior manager? Will they be a director? Because in Korea, you're known by your title at work. That is what your friends call you. That's what your mother calls you. Southeast Asia and Africa, a lot of countries like that, there's a lot of status just working for a foreign firm.
I hope the on-the-job training will take place in different branch offices overseas.
The results of our research at Nexus and the evidence of our interviewees has demonstrated the challenges that exist for organisations when employing people from different countries and cultures. Therefore, we at Nexus have some suggestions for international employers.
First, employers should increase the awareness of the local cultures, norms, regulations, and law in order to prevent misunderstanding and potential legal issues which can become a huge cost of organizations.
Organizations need to improve their planning process of global recruiting. The cost of employing someone from overseas can include the expense of helping employees and their family relocate and settle. If the wrong candidate has been selected, the cost is more than just relocating them. It also affects the whole team performance and business output. Good planning will decrease the risk of organizations.
Finally, the HR managers need to be thematic to the global staff. They should be the point of contact for potential employees and their families so that they can have somewhere to go for advice and assistance.
This is a growing and exciting area of human resource management, which we at Nexus would like to assist your company with.